Okay, this is a short video to explain some of the more advanced compositional techniques that you'll need in Year 9 and GCSE. So you should have already covered all the Year 7 ones, all the Year 8 ones. We're now going to do chord sequence, musical sequence, chord development, thirds and a circle of fourth. Okay, so the first one of these is a chord sequence. Chord sequence, traditionally in Western classical music, not always, but most of the time, you're writing in 4 or 8 bar phrases. So your chord sequences, if you're in C major, are going to consist of 4 chords and then followed by with a cadence at the end and then another 4 chords. So we start with chord 1. We've talked about that in a previous video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 4 and 5 are your primary chords. They're also your major chords. 2 and 6 are your minor chords. Okay, 3 in C major, it's minor, it's E minor. That is sometimes used, not generally in the Baroque and classical periods, but later on. And you've also got this one on B, which is a bit of an odd chord because it's neither minor or major. That would be minor with an F sharp, and that would be major with an F sharp and a D sharp. So that chord isn't really used very much. It's more often a, sounds like a G7 chord. So if you put a G on the bottom, it sounds more like a G7 chord than a chord in itself. Okay, so chord sequence is just a set of chords, usually 4 or 8, C, F, G, A, F, C, G, C. You've got 2 cadences in there, usually. Let's play that with a little bit more development. So you've got... So that's an 8-bar chord sequence with 2 cadences. The next one I want to talk to you about is musical sequence. We touched on this in Year 8. It's a pattern that is repeated higher or lower. But the idea is it's the same structure, but it starts on a different note. So for example... So there I use the musical sequence 3 times and then I put a different ending on in the last bar to make it a balanced phrase. Here's another example. We'll do it in G major this time. Okay, so one more. Do this in F major. Okay, the next one is chord development. This is something that you need to think about when you're writing, of how you can develop your chords. So for example, if you're in GarageBand or if you're composing in Sibelius, how do you make your chords do different things? So rather than just writing block chords, 1 per bar for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are various ways of developing those chords. The easiest is just to put them into a different rhythm. So for example, crotchets. Into quavers, etc. Or you could put them into a rhythm. Another way of developing them is to play it as an arpeggio or a broken chord, and there are various ways you can do this. You can take the whole chord, or you can loop it in like an Alberti bass, so you don't go all the way up, you come back down. obviously there's various combinations of that. So that is developing chords. The next one is the use of thirds in a melody. So this is a compositional device. It's very useful, particularly when you're writing something formal like a waltz, or if you are doing harmonies for a song. Thirds and sixths are probably the most obvious place to start, and you'll find that if you're already doing harmonies in songs and adding your own harmony, you're likely to be using thirds and sixths. So we take a basic melody. That's our melody. It's in C. I'm starting on C. Simple melody to illustrate the point. Now, what we do if we add a third is we take our C as our first note, we move up 3 notes. So we're now on the 3rd degree of the scale, and we play the same thing, but a third higher. So the original was, the new one is, and together they sound like this. If you put instead of doing it in thirds, if you play it down the octave, so you're actually playing the same notes but you do it down here, you get another kind of timbre or another kind of flavour to it. This is the same thing, but there's a sixth between it, but it's actually the same notes. If you make that into a sequence now, the last one that we are going to do today is something called the circle of fourths. Now this is a chord device, a device for writing chords, and it is where the chords go round in a circle of fourths. Sometimes called the circle of fifths, because if you go up a fourth, it's the same as going down a fifth. Okay, so we're going to start in C major for the easiness of demonstration. Okay, so if you're going down a fourth, you're going C, then you're going down to G, down a fourth from G is D minor, down a fourth from D is A minor, down a fourth from A minor is E minor, down a fourth from E minor is B. You've got a choice here, you can do B minor, B diminished, or you can use a B flat. Then you modulate to F, and then down a fourth is C, and then you've changed key. Okay, so I'm going to play that from C. C, G, D, A, E, B flat, F, C, and now you have modulated to F major. There are various different permutations of that, and you have to find the one that works. If you want to get back to C, C, G, D, A, you could just stop there and go back to C, and that's a mini circle of fourths. You could go on, G, D, if you want to start in a minor key, so then we went A, D, G, C, F, B, E major, so again that's using that B diminished chord, which is probably actually a G chord. Obviously fifths is just going, it's the same notes, it's just going the other way. So C, G, D, A, it's exactly the same. Fourths or fifths, you're just going a different direction. So those are the advanced compositional techniques for use at year 9 and 10.